ESO's had a pretty rocky year, to say the least. From the beginning of the year when they announced this year's chapter, and then this year's chapter being the big feature of a card game, Tales of Tribute, it hasn't really panned out well. A lot of players, including myself, was not expecting there to be a card game released as the main chapter edition, and we thought there may be something else with that, maybe spell crafting, another race, another weapon, and in a dreamland, maybe another class. But I knew the chances of a new class were pretty slim due to the ongoing performance issues they were sorting through at that current time, and they basically explicitly said that they were not going to be doing a new class until they fixed the server issues and the performance. But as a lot of people predicted, the card game basically flopped, and it is played by a very niche population. I personally love card games and I had a good time with it, but the thing that drove me away is that once again the rewards for it were pretty lackluster for ranked. There was no incentive to keep playing it because the top player in the season gets a tribute token or multiple tribute tokens as you rank up that sell for probably around a couple 100K when you combine everything, which in my opinion is pretty garbage due to the fact that it takes hundreds of games to stay at that position. It's just mind-boggling how the reward structure was made for this card game. Also, my incentive was sucked out of me when I had gotten to about rank 150 in the first season, and then the game bugged out and I wasn't put in a match, and then I couldn't do anything in the game because the game thought I was in a match, and then I auto-forfeited and lost about 1,000 rank due to that. That was infuriating. But real quick, I just want to give a shout out to my members and patrons. Thanks so much for the support. If you'd like to become a member or patron, you can get access to our Discord, your name up here in the videos, and much more. But thank you again for everyone for making this channel the way that it is. I really do appreciate it. But let's go ahead and keep getting into the video. Besides the card game though, this year for ESO has just been strange. The expansion this year being High Isle just felt light. It didn't feel like the card game added much, and then you tack on all the base game updates that they had, the combat debacle, and now the Fire Song DLC, which again is a very light content drop in my opinion compared to other content they've dropped in the past. This is just the least excited I have been for a year for ESO. I go back to the year that Greymoor released, and it felt like there was so much more in that chapter expansion release that whole year because of Antiquities, because of the new arena, Vadistran Hollows. I mean, it's just went downhill since the expansion in my opinion. It feels like whoever is calling the shots for this game is just uninterested in the game. And the reason I say whoever's calling the shots is I don't think that the devs are uninterested in the game. I think the people that make this game love the game. I think that they enjoy the world that they create. But I really think the higher ups, whoever is calling the shots, like I said, is just very uninterested in this game, and I just don't understand it. I mean, you look at our, content that we have gotten in this year. I mean, we're not even getting an arena. We're not even getting like a huge base game like quality of life thing like we did last year. I mean, it's just like the content has been less and less and less. It's went downhill in my opinion. So I feel that they have their sights and minds on something else, and that could very well be the case because they are working on like another IP or another AAA IP that they are making that is actually being promoted for jobs on the ZOS website. They're hiring a lot of people for this unnamed game, and a lot of people think it's an MMO. I think it might have been confirmed that it's an MMO. I'm not sure, but it looks like they are just building up for that. And for me, I just look at that and I'm like, okay, so are you done with ESO? Are you going to continually make it better? Or are you just drip feeding content less and less each year? But the point of this video isn't to talk about that unnamed game, but to talk about ESO and what is next for the game, or where does ESO go from here? I don't know if you all sympathize with me on how this year has went, but the game seems to be bleeding out their player base as much as they can as this ship sinks. I mean, everything is getting pushed to the Crown Store now. We're getting less features and updates as the years go on, and they are running marketing and Amazon Prime campaigns. I don't know if ESO has ever ran Prime campaigns before in my playtime of the game. If they have, let me know down in the comments, but they are obviously trying to get people into this game more than they ever have. I've never seen so much outside marketing for High Isle that I've seen this year. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I've seen so much marketing on like websites and ads. And to me, that's just a sign that the game is declining. If you look at the statistics from Steam charts, you'll see the game has steadily declined since 2020. And some of that is that everyone obviously was inside due to the pandemic, but I do think a lot of people have lost interest in the game and moved on to other avenues of gaming. And that's the crazy thing about ESO in itself, is that it's a good game. It has given me thousands of hours of enjoyment, and for new players, it's so vast that you have plenty of content to do for years. The issue that I'm seeing is that for the veteran player base, or for a lot of people that have played for a while, or someone who's been around for a while, it just seems like the game needs a breath of fresh air. We have been in the same content cycle for like 6 years now, and it's just gotten bland and repetitive. Every year it's chapter reveal, dungeon DLC, expansion, dungeon DLC, mini expansion with events in between. And I've liked that. When I first got really into this game a couple years ago, I really liked that. But now after a couple years, it's just bland. And that's one of the worst things. As someone who, as a veteran, has put a lot of time into a game, MMO players don't want to feel like their time put into the game has been wasted. And I feel like a lot of people, when they get to a point in this game where they've done most of the stuff they want to do, they go, okay, what do I need to do now? Like, what am I coming back to play the game for? And that's, I think a lot of people have had that question when they come into this game is, man, why am I playing this game now? Like, I feel like I've done everything. Why am I coming back? And that's a problem in my opinion. But for every year, though, this content to me has felt less impactful, and just it seems like the content in general has gotten less and less as the years have went on. This could be due to their hindrance of performance, and maybe next year it will be different. But like I said in the beginning of this year, the year 2022 for ESO was going to be a defining year for the game. It was either going to be a year that ESO took advantage and really tried to like assert itself as a dominant MMO, or it was going to decline. And with so many games that came out this year that drew so many people away, ESO picked a really bad year to decline. Some of you may be at this point and be like, dang it, man, Adam, you have been super critical of ESO in the last 2 months and in general this year. And you're right, I have. I don't want to come across as someone who's never satisfied with this game, because this game, like I said, is a very good game. But the bottom line is that ESO has so much potential to be a better game in so many ways. It could be the best MMO on the market if it changed a few things, if they shifted their focus to work on areas of the game that are existing, if they redesigned their monetization and reward model. It could be the best MMO hands down. So yes, I am critical because it just upsets me how much potential this game has, but they just keep scratching the surface in surface level systems and surface level rewards. And it's just because their focus is on the crown store, in my opinion. That's the big focus. But this isn't just ESO's problem. So many games have this issue because it's just become a corporate thing now. It's hard to find a game that designs for the consumer rather than the shareholder. And with ESO, what I mean by the surface level systems is there are so many cool things in this game that they could expand upon, and they just seem like they barely brisk the surface. One of those being the Oblivion portals from Blackwood. That could have been a really cool content idea. It was an awesome idea originally, but it's a portal, and you go to an Oblivion plane, and you could have made a roguelike type experience in those portals, and people could continually run them for cosmetics or rewards or whatever you want there to be. But no, it's just literally a portal, and it's so repetitive. There's like no reason to run them. It's like that is one of the biggest failures, in my opinion, that they've done recently, that just like they just didn't capitalize on such a cool idea. That's what frustrates me about ESO, is that they have great ideas, but they don't implement them well. And so I have been critical. I know I have. But it's because I see the game as having a lot of potential, but they just, for some reason, they don't want to unlock that potential. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. So what now? Where does ESO go from this abysmal year? Because I do think this has probably been the worst year for ESO. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they like allude to. There's no way this year has not been a bad year for ESO. It has. I really think they need to keep working on the servers like they're doing. I think that's a great thing. And I think they seriously need to consider taking a year off from releasing any major content, because the content, in my opinion, is just not enough content for what they're doing. It's just like a little bit of content. And I really think if they actually spent the time to go back to the drawing board and redesign, revamp, revitalize old systems or existing systems in the game to be more enjoyable and rewarding, it would make ESO a better experience for everyone. I mean, do what Final Fantasy does, do what WoW does. Take more than a year before, like, between expansions. Stop releasing expansions every year. I just think it's going to keep creating burnout. It creates burnout for the players. It creates burnout probably for the devs. Like, it's crazy, guys. Like, you would think, like, oh man, they pump out so much content, but it's actually backfiring. It's actually having an opposite effect. It burns players out because everything keeps, like, just being added to the game, right? There's just more stuff, and it overwhelms people. Let people play the game and focus on areas of the game that need work. Like, stop putting an area in the game and then just forgetting about it. A perfect example of this is Antiquities. They've added onto that system every year, and it's been great. They need to do that for other systems. So I think they need to completely redesign the reward and monetization structure. I think they need to stop messing with combat, and they need to figure out what their goal is and actually communicate that to us with combat, because it hasn't been clear for a very long time. Those are a few other things that, going along with what I just said before, would be very ideal, I think, going forward for ESO. With games like New World and Final Fantasy and WoW and many other games that are releasing new content and drawing players away, not to mention the other non-MMOs like God of War, Harry Potter, Starfield, Modern Warfare, and much more, ESO really is in a tough situation. And I really, really do hope that they see this and that they are actually actively wanting to keep people around. But the sad thing is, guys, for about a year to 2 years now, it seems like they seriously are in another place. It's like their sights are on another game. That's just what it feels like to me. And so I really hope this next year for ESO is a leap forward. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where the game's going. I just have no idea. But I really hope that they really take in a lot of the feedback that people give. And I hope that we start to see some results from it. I know not all feedback is seen in the game immediately. It's just not possible because they're always like a year ahead. I think someone made a post on ESOU about that from Nephis' website. When you give feedback, it's not necessarily going to be felt in the game that next patch, just because they're already like so far ahead. But I don't know if they could maybe scratch something that they're doing. Like, if they're going to release another expansion next year, maybe they should just, like, again, go back to the drawing boards. But I really am curious to see where this game is headed, and I'd love to hear your comments down below. Thank you again to all my members. Thank you again to all my patrons. If you want to become any of those, check out the link below in the description, and check out all the videos up here up top that will help you out in ESO. But I do appreciate everyone's support. Thank you for being here, everyone. Remember, have faith, be great, and I'll see you on ESO later.